Peace and power world. This is once again court in session. I'm your host, Justice Hype, and this is not the court of law. Once again, this is the court of public perspective, opinion, and objective thought, where at any time you or I can be the judge, jury, plaintiff, or defendant. Now, on this episode, we have the case of Jordan Neely and Daniel Perry. As we know, a very hot topic for some time, and it's I think the initial outrage has died down and a lot of the media coverage has died down around this case, so I thought it would be fair to unpack it somewhat at this point. As we know, Jordan Neely was killed on the train in New York City. There's a lot of people who chimed in, and a lot of the details were sketchy at the time, and now that the details have unfolded and become public, it's time, I think, for fair and balanced discourse on this particular topic. So, as we have the facts of the case, on the day of the incident, Jordan Neely was heard trying to enter a car or the train at a particular station. Jordan Neely is commonly known as a performer. He's 30 years old and homeless. Also has an extensive criminal history and has a very tumultuous past. It is said that he lost his mother due to a violent death at the age of 14, in which his mother was put into a suitcase, and Mr. Neely unfortunately had to see this. And of course, that alone at the age of 14 would lead to extensive trauma and a lot of psychological disorder. Now, also, Mr. Jordan Neely was displaced and rendered homeless due to a fire that destroyed his home, and was said to have been on the streets for some time. New Yorkers know this kid. He's always on the train doing his Michael Jackson act, performing, and usually upbeat, cheerful, even though it's said that he has been belligerent at times, as said to have been on the day of the event in question. Once again, it's said that Jordan Neely entered the train cursing and acting in belligerent state, saying, and I quote, he doesn't care, or I don't care if I go to jail today. But at no time it is said that Jordan Neely in all his erratic behavior threatened anyone directly. Now, also on this train was the suspect in question, which is Mr. Daniel Perry, who happens to be a 24-year-old ex-Marine from Long Island, who resides at this time in Queens, New York. And he was also aboard the train on that day, along with other riders who witnessed Jordan Neely enter the train and the manner in which he entered the train. Now, most New Yorkers know it's common that you encounter people who are homeless, people who are mentally afflicted, and in all types of perilous states. This is not a common thing, and it's even become more rampant from the time of the pandemic and the economic changes and hardships that have been placed on a lot of the middle class, and leaving people just displaced. As rent prices increase and real estate increases in the city, this has rendered a lot of people homeless over the past few years. And so New York City is not new at all to people being roaming the streets, roaming the trains, the subways, and a lot of these people have mental disorders that are unchecked. And this is something that the city itself has to look deeper into and has to take more of a proactive approach to dealing with in the future. And we'll touch on that as we continue. But on this date, as it seemed that Jordan Neely was in a state of discomfort, maybe even rage, as he might have been screaming and yelling. Mr. Perry felt, and as he says, harmed or in danger. And in his own words, he stepped up to protect himself and the people riding the train. Now, the thing about it is, as you see on the graphic on the screen, it's clear that Mr. Perry, or Penny, I'm sorry, has Jordan Neely from behind in a chokehold. And it's also said by several witnesses on the scene that at a point when Jordan Neely was clearly subdued, Daniel Penny was asked to stop, in which he continued to apply his chokehold. Now, the thing about it is, once you approach someone from the rear, you're no longer in a position of defense. You're now on a position of offense. Daniel Penny deliberately waited for Jordan Neely to turn his back to apply a chokehold, which to me right now, the charges pending against Daniel Penny are second-degree manslaughter, which is being reviewed by a grand jury at this particular time and can be enhanced as they see fit. To me, and the way I see this is beyond manslaughter, due to the fact that at no point did, according to witnesses, Jordan Neely approach Daniel Penny in an offensive manner. At no point did he verbally threaten Daniel Penny directly. And Daniel Penny had all opportunities to do what normal citizens do, or normal train riders do daily in New York City, which is to exit the car at your nearest opportunity and enter the next car over, or wait for another train, simply if you feel that harmed or in danger by whatever person or whatever incident is occurring on the train. This is common procedure, and anybody who rides the train or is familiar with New York City subway system knows that this commonly happens, and it's something that unfortunately people that ride the train have to deal with. People going to work, people going about their daily business have to deal with on a consistent basis, as the trains have been rendered unsafe for quite some time, as there's been less of a police presence, even though we've heard that the police presence would increase. But most train riders will tell you that on a day-to-day basis, you're not going to see a police officer in every train or in every subway. It's just impossible in terms of resource for the New York Police Department to manage. And this brings me back to the city's handling of mental health and our society's handling of mental health. Obviously, Jordan Neely is afflicted with issues. It is also said that he was suffering from substance abuse as well. He had been booked on charges of public intoxication, I believe, several times as well, indicating his issues with substance abuse or alcohol. And so that should have been pinpointed at some point, and that should have been addressed before this incident took place. We have a very serious void in the way we as a society approach mental health and how we look at mental health. A lot of times it's stigmatized, and that's just written off as, oh, that's just the way the person acts, or, you know, they can get over this. But a lot of times there's some type of professional help that's needed for these individuals. There's some type of barrier that's needed, some type of institutionalization for some of these individuals who are too far gone mentally and need to be removed from society because of the fact that they're unstable and unsafe for themselves and for others, the public at large. So as we move further, we have to take a real look at ourselves, how we look at mental health, because as this escalated and went viral in the news, once again, we had our protesters, and most of them I would consider those who are engulfed in initial outrage, you know, emotionally charged people. And once again, I have to repeat this, that this channel is for objective free thinkers, not for emotional based thinkers. Alright, so if you are an impulsive thinker and an emotional based thinker, someone who is afraid to or unable to look at factual evidence and make objective discernments based on such evidence, this is definitely not the channel for you. I ask that you kindly move along, because I'll probably piss you off and you'll probably end up in the comments pissing me off as well. So in order to avoid that, just avoid the channel. Now, once again, unfortunate case. I don't believe that this kid needed to die on that day. It was very unfortunate. It's also very unfortunate that day to day people feel threatened just trying to move along on their day to day business, you know. Which, even in question in this particular case, was Daniel Perry an aggressor, or was he someone in fear? That is something that eventually the court itself is going to have to conclude upon. I personally feel in this case he had ample time and opportunity to evade the situation. He could have simply gotten off the train. I think in this particular case, Daniel Penny did not enter the train or enter the subway with thoughts of killing or engaging anyone physically on that particular day, which immediately removes first-degree murder off the table. However, I do feel that in his displeasure with Jordan Neely's behavior and his erratic actions and maybe even words coming out of his mouth, that he had gotten into a heightened state of alert, and he took it upon himself as an ex-Marine, which is another huge factor in this case. Now, I would have to think that if you are an ex-Marine, that you were trained in self-defense, which is why you were able to effectively apply that chokehold in the first place. You would also know that that's a potentially fatal move or a position to have someone in for that particular period of time, especially when they're already subdued and there's people telling you or asking you to let go of the person. So we'll have to see how the grand jury views this and views the evidence brought forth. Of course, this is being politicized in the media. the New York Post and other publications on the right wing would like to paint Daniel Penny as a hero that was in distress, and he felt no other option but to apply that chokehold for the safety of himself and others riding that train. And Jordan Penny was simply someone that was mentally afflicted and menacing other riders upon the train on that day, and leaving others in a state of fear and in danger, that it was then necessary for Daniel Penny to act as he did, applying the chokehold, and of course, unfortunately, taking the life untimely of Jordan Neely, which I'll say rest in peace. As I could say myself, I went through a phone recently, a BlackBerry. Yeah, a BlackBerry. We're talking about over 10 years. And I actually found a video dated from 2011 of Jordan Neely dancing on the D train peacefully and bringing joy and peace to the riders there. So, though I do not ignore the fact that Mr. Neely was afflicted and was not a saint, definitely was a youth in trouble, or actually a grown man as he was 30. This could have been easily avoided by proper discernment and critical thinking on the part of Daniel Penny. Get in the comment section. Let me know how you think of, or how you feel about this issue. Peace and blessings. Till next time.